Ni robo karne ya mashindano makubwa zaidi ya Qur'an tukufu ya mabara yote ulimwenguni yanayoandaliwa na Al-Hikma Foundation chini ya usimamizi wa Sheikh Nurdin Kishki. Sheikh Ali Bahero kutoka Mombasa nchini Kenya anakualika.
Nina furaha sana kualika Waislamu na watu wote katika mashindano ya Qur'ani tukufu yanayoandaliwa na Al-Hikma Foundation chini ya usimamizi wa Sheikh Nurdin Kishki hafidhahullahu ta'ala. Mashindano haya inshallah yatafanyika katika uwanja wa Mkapa jijini Dar es Salaam tarehe 16 mwezi wa 3 mwaka 2025 kuanzia saa 12 asubuhi mpaka saa 7 mchana. Hakuna kiingilio, unaingia bure na kutoka na thawabu kede kede. Mimi akipenda Mwenyezi Mungu, kwa uwezo wa Mwenyezi Mungu, insha Allahu Taala nitakuwepo. Wewe unakosaje? Kumbuka ndugu yangu katika imani, kumbuka Muislamu, mashindano haya yametimiza miaka 25 sawa na robo karne. Alhamdulillahi alladhi bi ni'matihi tatimmu salihat. Qur'ani kweli ima ikunyanyue ama ikuangushe. Njoo tuwe pamoja, tuende ikatunyanyue. Wabillahi tawfiq, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Mashindano haya yamedhaminiwa na
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Uhali gani mtazamaji wangu mpendo wa Alhaajar TV? Karibu tena katika kipindi kingine maalum zaidi katika siku za mwisho hizi, tukiwa tunaukaribisha mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhani. Siku ya Alhamisi hii nyingine tulivu zaidi, ikiwa ni tarehe 27 ya mwezi Februari sawia na tarehe 28 ya mwezi Shabani mwaka 1446 sanjari na saa 2 na dakika 41 saa za Afrika Mashariki, sawa na za mji mtukufu wa Maka. Kama ada wala sibada, kila siku ya Alhamisi huwa tuna kipindi cha Shamailu Nabi, lakini kutokamana na sababu ambazo zinaendelea kukuboreshea vipindi vyetu, tutakuwa naye dai huyu kutoka nchi ya Uingereza. Namzungumzia founder wa Mustafa's Academy, Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud. Sheikh, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan.
Pengine sijui Sheikh unanipata vema?
Na kusikia uzuri. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Naam, nikiamini pengine kama Shekhe ananipata vema, basi itakuwa ni muda muafaka zaidi ya kukaribisha mtazamaji, na Shekhe wetu Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud yuko tayari kwa ajili ya kutuelimisha, kutujuza na kutufahamisha, ikiwa mada kuu ni it's not too late welcoming the month of Ramadan. Tunakujia moja kwa moja kutoka katika studio zetu kaunti hii ya Mombasa, maeneo haya ya Majengo, na Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud naye anatupata mubashara kutoka katika nchi ya Uingereza kule. Pengine Sheikh, mida yetu ya Afrika Mashariki huku ni saa 2 na dakika 42. Sijui kwenu ni saa ngapi huko?
Kwetu sasa hivi ni saa 12 kasorobo. So we are 3 hours behind.
Naam Sheikh, sijui unanipata vema zaidi?
Naam, nakupata. Sijui sasa unanisikia au? Can you hear me now?
Sijui Sheikh unanipata kwa sasa?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I can hear you. I can hear you clearly. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly now, loud and clear, all the way from County 001, Mombasa County, live from London. United Kingdom. Welcome Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud for our special session before month of Ramadan.
Barakallahu feekum Sidi. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So Sheikh, for 2 minutes, let me introduce you to our audience, even though you don't want any introduction to our audience, because you are the main guest and guest speaker during our Kenya Dawah tour in December 1st, 2024. The event that was very successful and happened at Bandari Maritime Academy. Anything to say to welcoming our audience, Sheikh?
I'm honestly honored to be part of Al-Haajar, not just part of Al-Haajar, being a member of Al-Haajar, and Al-Haajar being my own as well. So Al-Haajar is home. And inshallah ta'ala, moving forward, I would like to tell you, as we've come for the events, Bidhnillah al-Kareem, you might get used to seeing my face a lot.
Inshallah. Okay, so Sheikh, allow me to ask our producer, our production manager, to play some video for the audience in Mombasa to hear the views of our Mombasa residents, people, concerning how they prepare about month of Ramadan.
Haajar Sayyidi, barakallahu feekum.
Naam, mwelekezi wetu pengine chini kama video ile ambayo tumeifanya siku ya leo kuangalia namna gani wakazi wa kaunti ya Mombasa wamejitayarisha kwa upande wao katika kukaribisha mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhani. Kama iko tayari utatujuza kwa ajili ya Sheikh wetu Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud kuitazama klipu hii. Unafahamu nini ukisikia mwezi wa Ramadhan? Mwezi wa Ramadhani ni mwezi wa 9 unaopatikana katika kalenda ya Kiislamu. Ni mwezi ambao ndani yake waumini wa dini ya Kiislamu kote ulimwenguni wanaungana katika ibada takatifu ya kufunga. Ni mwezi ambao ndani yake una usiku wenye thamani ya zaidi ya miaka 1000. Ungana nami leo kuanzia mida ya saa 2:30 usiku tutakapoungana naye muhadhiri kutoka nchi ya Uingereza. Namzungumzia Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud ambaye ni founder wa Mustafa's Academy, tukizungumzia pamoja na kukuelimisha namna gani utopokea na kuifanya Ramadhani yako ya mwaka 1446 sawia na mwaka 2025 ya kipekee zaidi. Lakini kabla ya yote hayo, tuko katikati ya kaunti ya Mombasa ambapo tunaenda kusikiza maoni ya wakazi wa kaunti ya Mombasa, watueleze ni namna gani wao wanaufahamu namna kupokea mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhani. Sisi tunasema it's not too late kukaribisha mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhani.
Mimi nimejitayarisha kufanya ibada kwa wingi inshallah.
Kwa kweli mimi nimejitayarisha kwa kila siku huwa nasoma juzuu moja, lakini kwa mwezi huu mtukufu wa Ramadhani atakuwa najitahidi kila siku nikisoma juzuu 5 inshallah.
Get prepared as if this is our last Ramadan. Please. This is the month of our sacred month. It's a month of ibadah. Let us all do ibadah. Let us not forget the orphans, the less fortunate, and also sharing, reciting Quran, doing itikaf and all that.
Tunafaa tujiandae kwa vizuri na tuzidishe moyo ibada and istighfar kwa wingi.
Wallahi, kwanza kabisa nimejitayarisha kwa mimi kama mimi nimetiania inshallah Ramadhani hii nitajaribu kufanya ibada inshallah, kama nitaongeza swala zangu kama swala za nafila inshallah, istighfar kwa wingi. Advice wenzangu, wajua Uislamu kama marafiki mnaamrishwa al-amru bil ma'ruf wa nahyu anil munkar.
Ramadhani nimejitayarisha kufanya ibada ziada, kusoma Qurani zaidi na kufunga na kutoa. Ni mwezi lazima watu watoe zaka, mfano waswali kwa wakati, na lengo langu kubwa Ramadhani, alhamdulillah, sisi Waislamu wengi hata bila kupa mawaidha watu wengi huingia kwenye ibada.
Mimi nimejiandaa kwamba Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, mwanzo hiyo siri baina mimi na yeye, lakini kuambia ndugu zangu, mimi nimejitayarisha bwana, mimi swala yangu iwe swala ya sawa sawa namna Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anapenda, kusoma Qur'ani kwa wengi kwa siku, at least juzu 2 juzu 3. Manake Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kwambia shahru Ramadhan alladhi unzila fihi al-Qur'an.
And I want to engage more in prayers, reading Quran and making a lot of du'as.
Mimi kujitayarisha katika mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhan, nimejitayarisha niingie katika ibada za kumwabudu yeye Mwenyezi Mungu na kutoa sadaka na kula na mayatima
mazuri na mengine mazuri kuliko.
Personally me, I want to do a lot of ibadah that I have not done in other months, like increasing my Quran recitation so that I can do in the morning and in the evening and also afternoon. Also, I want to do Taraweeh because I feel like last Ramadan, I wasn't able to do Ramadan Taraweeh much. So inshallah, I'm planning on doing Taraweeh this Ramadan, and I also want to give sadaqah inshallah as much as I can.
Kusema la ukweli, through the experience of the past Ramadan, tutasema kama Taraweeh, manake sisi kama vijana mara nyingi huwa tunakuwa na ile inaitwa soda, pressure Coca-Cola, huwa inaanza mwanzo alafu mwisho unapata tunakata. Ambao kwamba sasa target yangu mimi kama Muislamu nimeona leo kwamba nitafight hard ya kwa mpaka mwisho inshallah.
Asante sana mwelekezi ambaye umetuchezea video hiyo yenye maoni ya wakazi katika kaunti ya Mombasa kuhusiana na namna ambavyo wamejitayarisha. Hao ni baadhi ya vijana pamoja na wakazi katika kaunti hii ya Mombasa, ambapo wao wanasema kila mmoja akiwa na upande wake na maoni yake. Pengine Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud, because after these views, what is your take on these views concerning how prepare from our audience in Mombasa County?
Alhamdulillah, la zala fil ummati khair. There's a lot of blessings in the ummah. You can see that the ummah is still alive and the ummah is still breathing, compared to what we might see in the world today and how much we've been scattered everywhere. And you notice that we are trying to cling on to the last thread of hope. You can see the hope within the eyes and also the voices of the ummah, mashallah. That's the greatest thing of what I can say. Alhamdulillah.
Okay, thank you so much, Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud. To our first question, why Ramadan is it considered the holy month in the calendar of Islam?
Ramadan is not just a holy month in the calendar of Islam. First of all, we have to clear the misconception of understanding that a holy month is not just directed to Ramadan. Actually, a hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam narrated by Abu Bakr Nufay' ibn al-Harith wa rawahu al-Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala wa Muslim. He says that inna az-zamana qad istadara ka hay'atihi yawma khalaqa as-samawati wal-ard minha arba'atun hurum. That the time that we have, the life that we are living, zaman, it has literally circulated back to where it started, to its hay'ah, its actual appearance, how it was, and it went back to where it was. يَوْمَ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, from the time that Allah created the heavens and the earth, مِنْهَا أَرْبَعَةٌ حُرُمٌ. Lakin, in that period of time that we have, and also the circulation of time, as we can see, as the earth circulates, rotates, and also the time has rotated enough to it has come back to its beginning again, there are 4 sacred months, 4 actual sacred months in the calendar of Islam. ثلاث متواليات, according to the hadith, 3 that they are consecutive, they follow each other, continuous. That is Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, and Muharram. And then we have Rajab, Mudar alladhi bayna Jumada wa Sha'ban. Now when you look at the holy month of Ramadan itself, it makes the month to be full of blessings because we have to fast it as an obligation. Bear that in mind. But when we compare it to the sacredness of these other ones, according to the time, we could say that these other 4, they are more sacred. But because the month itself is an obligation from Allah, it has its own weight. So if we try to put them together, it's like weighing apples and oranges, it becomes a bit difficult. Like when you look at the month itself, if we try to look at the month as the month of Ramadan, it is a blessed month because it's not just a month that Allah has commanded us to fast, the month where we know that the Quran was revealed in that month. And beyond that, the maqadir of al-khalaiq, they are also preordained in the month as well. But beyond that, it's also a month of hope. It's a month that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is giving us a chance to open a new sheet with Him. Barakallahu fi.
About the word holy month of Ramadan. I think now let's get now deep in our main focus, our main topic of the day. And our question is what are some ways to prepare Ramadan, both spiritually and physically?
Now, before I carry on, inshallah, I would ask the presenter 001.
Now,
do I have time to speak at least for like 20 minutes straight?
Okay, no problem.
Because in order for us to prepare for Ramadan,
yes,
we have to first understand Ramadan first of all, and then now we can know, okay, how do we prepare for it, inshallah?
Okay, no problem on that. I think consider done. I'll give you 20 minutes because now it's 8:54 East African time. I don't know what's the time in your end.
The time in our end is 5:55. It's literally Maghrib time.
Okay, it's Maghrib time. So I'll give you 20 minutes. So that will be 9:20 East African time.
Make it 9:15. It's enough. 9:15 should be enough.
Okay, no problem.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي اللهم ابسط علينا رحمتك وانشر علينا من حكمتك وافتح لنا فتوح العارفين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم آمين رب العالمين. Inshallah ta'ala, something that I want each one of us to understand, especially with the month of Ramadan, for us to understand the sacredness of the month itself and the holiness of the month and the blessings of the month, there's a concept which many of us tend to turn a blind eye to, and that is the fact that Allah gives us one most important element, if not all of the other ones that we are supposed to mention. That is that Allah is giving us the opportunity to open a new sheet with Him. How so? When you read the ahadith, especially on Raf'ul A'mal, the hadith which are related to the ascending of the deeds to Allah, the hadiths provide a hadith تعطينا أن الأعمال ترفع إلى الله تبارك وتعالى يوميا والأعمال ترفع إلى الله أسبوعيا لكن الأعمال كذلك ترفع إلى الله سنويا. Bear that in mind. The hadith mentioned that deeds are lifted to Allah every single day, day and night. And also there's a hadith that shows us that deeds are lifted to Allah every single week, Monday and Thursday. But then what about this annual ascension of the deeds that we've committed throughout the whole year? When does that happen? When is it? That's the question. Usama bin Zayd, he provides in a hadith narrated by An-Nasa'i and also Abu Dawood كذلك. You notice that he says at this time when Usama bin Zayd would question the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam or ask for knowledge, remember kana shaban, he was a young man, and when we say shab, maybe adolescent age, he hasn't even reached to about 20 years old where he's a complete adult or beyond. Just at his adolescent age, he asks the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, lam araka tasumu shahran min ash-shuhur ma tasumu min sha'ban. I do not see you fasting in any other month if compared to the month of Sha'ban. What's the secret behind it? لذلك عائشة رضي الله عنها would say ما استكمل شهر في الصيام قط إلا رمضان. Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم did not complete a month ever in fasting except for Ramadan. لكن he did not fast so much in any other month compared to Sha'ban. There's a reason behind it. Rasulullah is teaching this. When Usama bin Zayd asked him the question, this is what he said. He said that ذاك شهر يغفل الناس عنه. It's a shahr, it's a month that many people turn a blind eye to. And I can promise you that many of us today, if we pay attention, I'm not picking from the ummah and then trying to, or nitpicking from the ummah, from the things that they do and that. But we have to address some of the a'ba, some of the mashakil, some of the problems that we have in our nation, in order to do what? To deal with them, to know how, okay, what's the solution and what do we need moving forward. Like many of us, we know Ramadan is already on our door and at our doorstep. Rather than focusing on preparing ourselves, we focus on how do we end this month, which is the current days that we have. Perhaps if we only have until tomorrow evening, then Taraweeh begins, or the very latest, we're looking at perhaps Saturday night. Rather than spending this time and realizing that we have opened a new sheet with Allah, before I come to the point, you notice that we focus on how could we eat more, how could we go out more, how could we spend time more with doing this or that. People meet in beaches, people meet in shopping centers, people meet in restaurants. They're breaking every single corner of cities, trying to gather together so that they can bid farewell to these days, so that when the month of Ramadan is as if they've gone to prison. Ma'al asaf, that's the case. Let's be very honest. Now, something that we need to realize is this. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he said that ذَاكَ شَهْرٌ يَغْفُلُ النَّاسُ عَنْهُ, that it is a month that deeds are lifted to Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, and it's a month that many people become heedless of. He says that this month between Rajab and Ramadan is also a month that شهر ترفع فيه الأعمال إلى رب العالمين. It is a month that deeds are lifted and they ascend to Allah, to the Lord of the worlds. It is the month. What is that supposed to mean? So now if you look at the first hadith that I mentioned, not now, at the very beginning of this live class, I call it a class actually, you notice that the combination of that hadith and this hadith, although the first hadith mentioned that time has come back to where it started, and Rasulullah ﷺ was specifically referring to the days of Dhul Hijjah, the days of Hajj itself. If you compare it to now and you use it in this perspective, use the hadith, you realize that yes, the month of Sha'ban has repeated itself again. The cycle has repeated itself again. We've come back to the month of Sha'ban again. What does that mean? It will continuously happen so. This is what's going to happen every single year, year in, year out. Opportunities come and go. Opportunities come and go. But many of us do not pay attention to those. That's why Rasulullah would mention that Sha'ban is a month that not only do people become heedless of, they're careless of, they don't pay attention to, they fail to understand that deeds are lifted to Allah of our annual ones. Just like our taxes, as we are taxed every single year, whether it's April, depending on where you are. For us, where we are, our tax year begins at April, and the only opportunity you have is between April and July. For those who've been in this country or those who are here in this country, they know in the UK, from April all the way to July is the period you have to declare your annual income that you've made, or maybe your profits or whatever has remained, and then you show your statements, and then you're taxed from there. But what does Allah want? He gives us another opportunity by showing us, look, you have closed your books of the last year from the beginning of the middle of the second half of Sha'ban, when the second half of Sha'ban started. That's the beginning of the next year now of your deeds, and it's a new sheet. But as long as you know you're still living, I'm bringing to you the month of Ramadan. As the month of Ramadan now arrives, one does not need just to prepare, but to realize the fact that this month that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has given us is not just an obligation alone. Allah is trying to tell us, look, it's not just part of your faith that you fast the month of Ramadan for your Iman and Islam to be complete, but actually I am giving you the code of conduct of how to live as a Muslim. إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ, to complete the best of what? Akhlaq, the best of morals. And the best of morals of man are impossible to be completed if the heart is problematic, or if the heart has rusted. While throughout the whole year we spend our lives trying to earn a living, trying to fight day and night, the month of Ramadan shows us that of that which we've missed in the previous year, we can try at least and fill in something in those scrolls. But at the same time, it's time now that we prepare for the next year, so that we realize that as we prepare ourselves for that, we know that this sheet will close again, and then you open up a new sheet, a new ghilaf with Allah. في كل سنة تفتح ورقة أخرى. Every single sana you open, you turn a new page for a new year with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. That's why the month of Ramadan. And beyond that, when you realize now that, okay, I'm starting a new year, a new annual year, a new deeds year, a new year of new deeds. That's what it is. It's not the annual according to your calendar, lunar calendar. No, it's according to the deeds. Now your deeds are taxed of the last year. Allah already has it with him. Now what about this new year, which begins with the second half of Sha'ban going forward? As you still have the opportunity of living Sha'ban, completing as much of the month of Sha'ban with those good deeds, they can fill in those scrolls. And then as you move along, you prepare yourself like that. Once you realize that, that is a blessing from Allah to show you that, look, immediately as you have completed that scroll of the last year, I'm giving you this opportunity of this next year. You have to make use of it as much as you could because of the new sheet. Fill it in. You open the new sheet with good deeds. You end it with good deeds. That's the whole purpose behind it. And beyond that, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what does he say? Now he gives us this. For one to be able to cleanse their hearts and also have respect to Allah, and at the same time to realize that as their deeds, they are ascending to Allah, how do you escort them? Is to do what? To come with the best of deeds. And that is what? فَأُحِبُّ أَنْ يُرْفَعَ عَمَلِي وَأَنَا صَائِمٌ. لذلك, I love the fact that my deeds are lifted to Allah while I'm in a state of fasting. And this is Rasulullah, ما ينطق عن الهوى إن هو إلا وحي يوحى كما يقول في سورة النجم. In Surah Al-Najm, it says what? He does not utter from hawa, from his desires, but actually it's wahi, inspiration from Allah, and it's revelation. So even a hadith, it comes from Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. He wouldn't just utter anything from nowhere. وَأُعْطِيَ جَوَامِعُ الْكَلِمِ أَلَيْسَ كَذَلِكَ? To show us that there's nothing better than fasting. That's why Aisha radiallahu anha, as we said, she would always say that with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the month of Ramadan is the only month that he completed fully of fasting. But there's no other month that he fasted so much of compared to the month of Sha'ban. He was not just preparing for Ramadan, but actually he was even escorting his deeds with the best of ibadah, and that is fasting. That's why you notice that there's fasting in the month of Ramadan. You can't show off with fasting, actually. You'll be starving, you will be harming yourself, you'll be hurting. Bear that in mind. Who are you showing off to? Who are you harming then? It's yourself. You're going through that trouble for whom? For Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Laysa kadhalik. But you don't notice it as a trouble. You know it's a month of ibadah, it's a month of blessings, it's a month of khayrat, wal barakat, wal nafahat. It's for all of that. So you pay attention, but that requires preparation before. And fasting does the following. Let me tell you what. Another hadith, if I'm not wrong, is by Nu'man ibn Bashir. You notice Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam goes on to say, إن الحلال بين وإن الحرام بين وبينهما أمور مشبهات ويوجد هذا الحديث في الأربعين النووية. لكن then it carries on. He said then ألا وإن في الجسد مضغة إذا فسدت فسد الجسد كله وإذا صلحت صلح الجسد كله ألا وهي القلب. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provide us salahiyatul qalb, uprightness of the qalb, steadfastness of the heart, and also righteousness of the heart. Salahiyatul qalb. What does he say? Indeed, in the body there is a piece of flesh. And this flesh, if it's corrupt, the entire body corrupts. Why didn't he mention the mukh? Why didn't he mention the limbs? Al-yadan. Why didn't he mention al-rijlan? Why didn't he mention al-aynan? Why didn't he mention al-udhnan? Why didn't he mention al-fam? Why didn't he mention any of those? Why did he have to mention that mudghah, which is what? If it's corrupt, the entire body is corrupt. And if it's safe, it is healthy. Health with what? Ibadah. It's upright. It has some mercy. It loves. It trembles when it hears the words of Allah. Allahu nazzala ahsan al-hadithi kitaban mutashabihan mathani taqasha'irru minhu juludul ladhina yakhshawna rabbahum. These words which have been revealed by Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala of the perfect words, ahsan al-hadith, the perfect of hadith, not ajwad al-hadith, the best and the beautiful of hadith, actually the perfect. You will never find it anywhere except for the words of Allah. It makes the skin of the believer happen. It happens to do what? It makes it tremble. It makes it feel like spiders are crawling. That's how it feels. ثم تلين جلودهم وقلوبهم, and then their skin, their julud, they do what? They soften up, and their hearts do the same. عن ذكر الله, from the remembrance of Allah, the mentioning of Allah, which is the Quran. ذلك هدى الله يهدي به من يشاء ومن يضلل الله فما له من هاد. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from dalal. So what do you realize is that these ibadah which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would do before Ramadan, as Ramadan enters, is to correct the heart. And he saw no other ibadah better than fasting to correct the heart. And when Ramadan comes, the best of blessings of what we can have is to make sure that this heart is softened. It's not rusty anymore. It's prepared for that. And once it's prepared for the month of Ramadan, it will be able to welcome the month of Ramadan. Now, is it too late for one to say, I cannot welcome the month of Ramadan properly? Actually, no. You have the time now. Even if it's 24 hours, you have to mentally prepare. لذلك, when he said it's the heart, the mind is controlled by the heart. The body is controlled by the heart. Why? لأن النفس البشرية والأحساس البشرية من القلب. The desires and also the emotions of man, they are all controlled by the heart. And what goes on the heart is exactly what the mind thinks to say that it is logic. هكذا العقل وهكذا المخ وهكذا الذهن. الذهن هذا والمخ لا يشتغل بدون القلب، لأن للقلب إحساس، والنفس البشرية هي التي تحكم على ماذا؟ على العقل. This nafs and soul is the one that does what? It's the one that judges the mind. If we cannot control this, إن تهمله تشب في حب الرضاع وإن تفطمه ينفطم. If you are to become heedless of it and careless of the heart and say, oh, it's okay, and nafsu هذا, if you were to say, no, it's okay, it will grow up to do what? To love that it is given, everything is pampered. It will grow up to be pampered. But if you are going to give it adab, you correct it by ibadah, with your salah, with your Quran, with your good akhlaq, how you deal with people, you control yourself, your anger. What do? ليس الشديد بالسرعة, not the one who is strong, who is to be showing his muscles, his anger, his strength and pushing people. إنما الشديد الذي يملك نفسه عند الغضب. In fact, the one who is strong enough and who is firm enough is the one that can control themselves during what? Anger. And anger is just emotions. If you can control that, you will mentally control yourself. You will have sanity. You will be able to think correctly. You will be able to do the right thing. That's why you notice all about the heart again. وهذا الدين دين أخلاق. هذا الدين دين أخلاق. والأخلاق لا يعلم بدون العلم. الأخلاق لا تدرس إلا بالعلم. They are not learnt without knowledge. Bear that in mind. That's why you notice the month of Ramadan comes to teach us, provide the heart that knowledge, and it comes to correct it and show it its path, inshallah ta'ala. So in order for one to know the blessings of Ramadan, one needs to understand why Ramadan. And one of the reasons is that you are opening a new sheet with Allah when it comes to your deeds. As the previous year's deeds have ascended, what about these ones? What are you doing with them? Besides having them ascend to Allah every single day and every single week. But how do you turn a new sheet? How do you prepare the sheet at the beginning? How do you close the sheet at the end, inshallah ta'ala? Barakallahu fiqh.
For your time, almost 15 minutes. The best 15 minutes ever in this session, after knowing the holy month of Ramadan and how it's sacred and holy in concerning to our Muslim community. So back to our first question, how prepare someone and which steps for someone to prepare for Ramadan physically and spiritually, Sheikh?
Barakallahu fikum, Sheikh Khatib. In terms of preparation now, we need to understand that الناس على ثلاث مراتب. People, they are of three types, and there are three levels. Level number one, there is the normal person that their salah is mushkila as well, let alone anything else. Sometimes they pray, sometimes they don't. هذا يبحث عن نفسه وعن إيمانه. This one, he's looking for himself and his Islam, actually. ذلك رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, what does he say? قالت الأعراب, the Quran says قالت الأعراب in Surah Al-Hujurat. The Arab, the Bedouins, they said آمنا, we believed. Allah told Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم قل يا محمد, yet you haven't believed yet. ولكن قولوا, لكن say أسلمنا, we have submitted. So when you say you're a Muslim, it means you're a submitter. You have that submission. You've surrendered yourself to whom? To the one and only Rabbul Alameen.
So Sheikh, it means
that level.
There's a difference between. Yeah, I hear you. So it means there's difference between to believe and to submit yourself to God.
نعم. Because الإيمان على المرتبة الثانية والثالثة. Now when you reach to the second level, now that's when Iman comes in, because you're fulfilling all the 5 pillars of Islam. You're not missing a salah. If it's time for zakah, you do so. If it's Ramadan, you don't dismiss Ramadan. And also Hajj, you've tried your best. لمن استطاع إليه سبيلا. كذلك. And لكن beyond that, what one needs to realize is that once you fulfilled those, your Iman yastakmil, it starts to become complete from then. And then when you want to reach the martaba of wilayah, which is the third martaba, what is wilayah? You become the friend of Allah. You become the wali of Allah. Inna waliyyi Allahu alladhi nazzala al-kitab. You cannot get there to a position where, just like what Rasulullah ﷺ was told in the Quran, indeed my wali, my aid, my nusra, my friend, Allah, the one who nazzala al-kitaba, who brought down the Quran, wa huwa yatawalla man as-salihin. So if you look at the Quran, it makes it very apparent. He is the one that takes the responsibility of aiding the righteous. As-salihin are the ones who go beyond the martaba of just fara'id. They go to the nawafil. They go to the best of what they can do in ilm, in akhlaq, in their dealings, in everything. That's why. And now that's why you notice when it comes to the hadith of akhlaq, اتق الله حيثما كنت. The ulama يسمون هذا الحديث حديث الأخلاق. اتق الله حيثما كنت أتبع السيئة الحسنة تمحها وخالق الناس بخلق حسن. Those are 3 layers of people. Layer number 1 is the one that is still finding themselves. اتق الله حيثما كنت. Level number 2, وأتبع السيئة الحسنة, is the one that they know that they've wronged, but they don't become heedless of their wrongs, of their wronging. They correct it, and they wake up. They move forward. They do their best, which is with the extra nawafil, beyond the fara'id. And then وَخَالِقِ النَّاسَ بِخُلُقٍ حَسَنٍ, that's the hardest level. How do you have the best of akhlaq to people? كَمْ مِنَ النَّاسِ نَرَاهُمْ يُصَلُّونَ. How many people do we see that they pray? وَيَصُومُونَ وَيَحُجُّونَ وَيُزَكُّونَ. They give zakah and everything, لكن أخلاقهم الله أكبر رديئة جدا. The akhlaq, they are worse than what you can think with people. Think about it. وهكذا. ومن كان على مرتبة الصلاحية والولاية, what happens? You notice that they can handle people. The problems of people, they handle them. They don't take anything in their hearts. They correct those. And every single time, they let go. Bear that in mind. وهكذا كان رسول الله والصحابة. بارك الله فيكم.
Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud, allow me to take a commercial break for 2 minutes, then we'll be back in our second session, inshallah. In our second session, Sheikh will allow us to open our calls for our audience to call us through and ask you questions concerning about the month of Ramadan, and also how we can prepare ourselves, because the headline is not too late for welcoming the month of Ramadan. Is that fine?
Barakallahu fikum, Sayyidi, it's fine.
Okay, inshallah. Shukran sana Sheikh, na wacha tuchukue mapumziko mafupi. Tutakaporudi katika awamu ya pili, mtazamaji, itakuwa ni awamu ya kukushirikisha wewe zaidi, ikiwa una swali lolote kwa Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud ambaye anatujia kwa sasa moja kwa moja kutoka katika mji wa London katika nchi ya Uingereza kule. Mwelekezi, kwako, tuchukue mapumziko.
شهر رمضان الذي unzila fihi alquran. Mwezi wa Ramadhani ndio mwezi ambao Qur'ani tukufu imeshushwa ndani yake. Al-Hikma Foundation kwa mara ya 25 tunakualika katika mashindano makubwa zaidi ya Qur'ani tukufu ya mabara yote ulimwenguni. Yalikuwa yakifahamika kama mashindano ya Afrika, sasa ni mashindano makubwa zaidi ya Qur'ani tukufu ya mabara yote ulimwenguni. Ni pale pale nyumbani kwetu kumenoga TMK wanaume, yani kwa Mkapa. Na kwa Mkapa safari hii insha Arrahman alladhi allama alquran hakosi mtu. Ni tarehe 16 mwezi wa 3 mwaka huu 2025 insha Arrahman alladhi allama alquran. Kumbuka ya kuwa hakuna kiingilio, ni bure kabisa. Unaingia bure na unatoka na thawabu kede kede. Njoo ujionee ni bara lipi litakaloondoka na kitita cha milioni 30. Imeshushwa ndani ya mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhan, itasomwa ndani ya mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhan, itashindaniwa ndani ya mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhan, na utaishuhudia ndani ya mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhan. Qur'ani tukufu ni moja kati ya mawili, ima ikunyanyue au ikubwage. Wake kwa waume, tukutane kwa Mkapa ili ikatunyanyue.
Asante sana mwelekezi kwa commercial break hiyo ya kupisha tangazo hilo la mashindano makubwa ya kuhifadhi kitabu kitakatifu cha Qur'an kwa mabara yote ulimwenguni, ambapo yatafanyika tarehe 16 ya mwezi Machi ndani ya mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhani. Na insha Allah apendapo Mola mweza, Alhajar TV runinga yako unayoipenda zaidi itakuwa katika taifa la Tanzania pale kwa Mkapa kwa ajili ya kukupeperushia matangazo haya ya mashindano ya Qur'an mubashara moja kwa moja kutoka katika nchi jirani ya Tanzania. Lakini back in our studio from Mombasa County to London in UK, still bado tuko naye Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud ambaye ni founder wa Mustafa's Academy, ambaye tunaendelea kuzungumzia masuala mengi zaidi kuhusiana na namna ya kujitayarisha, na mwenyewe katika bango lake linasema it's not too late, welcoming month of Ramadan. Hujachelewa katika kujitayarisha kupokea mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadan. Before the commercial break, Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud, umezungumzia masuala mbali, but one of our audience here have just asked how can someone improve their connection with Allah during Ramadan?
Barakallahu feekum. That's a very good question. For one to improve their connection with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala in Ramadan, we need to realize that Ramadan is not about improvement. Ramadan is about doing. It's like basically Ramadan is playing the match, not exercising for the match. So what do we do in the month of Ramadan? In the month of Ramadan, for the heart to be connected, it is to be pushed towards that which is right, towards that which connects you to Allah, such as if you are not reading Quran, it's time that you picked up the Quran and wiped off the dust on it and ensured that you do read a page or two if you did not read at all, a juz or two if you did read. It depends on where you're at. And beyond that, beyond the fara'id of what you used to do, you ensure that you start building that connection by doing a lot of voluntary ibadah. When you do something voluntarily, you notice that your heart connects yourself to it because you're doing something out of love. You're not doing something because it's an obligation. You're doing something for the sake of the one whom you're doing it for. You're not doing that which they have obliged you to do. So that's how you connect yourself to Allah. And most importantly, لا يزال لسانك رطب في ذكر الله. What happens? We end up being busy in our lives and our day-to-day activities and our work, and we live like that. Like one important weapon that which it is within our capacity every single minute of our lives is constantly mentioning Allah. الدوام على ذكر الله. That is really, really important. لذلك, the ulama, when they literally sit with us, you notice that the first thing that you would ever do besides after reading Quran is that you'll have adhkar ongoing, to show us that you need adhkar before you even start anything, even before you start a dars, even before you start learning again, or maybe you start a conversation. And the dhikr of Allah is the most important element which keeps the heart alive, keeps the fire burning in the heart, and that iman also glowing all the time. So how do you connect with Allah? Don't find the right time and say, I'll sit down and read Quran, because that will be difficult. Don't find the time and say that now is the time that I pray Qiyamul Layl. That will be difficult. But you should always prepare yourself for whatever might be ahead of you. And the best of what you can do to keep yourself connected, dhikr, al-dhikr, al-dawamu ala dhikrillah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us all. Naam, Habib.
To our another question by the name from anauliza Sheikh, assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Naitwa Abdul Fatah kutoka maeneo ya Changamwe. I wanted to ask Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud, what are the common mistakes do people make when preparing for Ramadan?
The common mistakes that we have when it comes to preparing for Ramadan, us as Muslims, first of all, we need to understand this. When it comes to mistakes, we don't look at the people as bad, but we determine their actions to be wrong. They're not bad. Their actions are wrong. But among the things that we do which are wrong is not paying attention to the good days that we have before Ramadan. Just like what we mentioned, we do not prepare for Ramadan. We actually wait for Ramadan to arrive. And it becomes difficult for one to pick up in the month of Ramadan of what they require. That's why Taraweeh becomes a bit difficult, or Qiyamul Layl becomes a bit difficult. Grabbing that Quran to read becomes difficult, or literally living in the moment for dhikr of Allah becomes difficult. One waits for that time to arrive. But what we do is that we don't pay attention to the month itself that we have right now, which is the month of Sha'ban. And even if it has reached to its very end and is soon going to be completed, and then we enter the month of Ramadan immediately, you notice with these, we have these few hours left. In these few hours, what do? We start mentally looking forward to Ramadan. How do we do that? We know that شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس. Ramadan, the month in which Allah has revealed the Quran as a guidance for mankind. So what do? Build your connection with the Quran. Get your heart moving already. Remove that rust and dust on the heart by doing what? Start reading. And you realize this month of Sha'ban is not the month of farewell. It's a month of what? It's a month of preparation. So that is the greatest mistake that we do. If we start looking at the rest of what we do in terms of our gatherings, our outgoings, or maybe this is what, those are just pinpointing and also nitpicking of the things that we do. But actually that realization of this blessed month of Sha'ban not being in place, that is the greatest mistake that we do, which makes the rest of the other mistakes fall under that same umbrella, inshallah. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you so much, Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud. Allow me to receive this call. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ipi hali zenu hapo?
Alhamdulillah. Sijui unapiga simu kutoka wapi?
Mimi napiga simu kutoka maeneo ya Nyali. Mashallah, kisha kwanza natoa pongezi kwa Sheikh Mustafa na Alhaajar TV kutuletea Sheikh Mustafa leo from UK. Japokuwa mazungumzo ya Kizungu lakini sisi tunazungumza vile vile Kiswahili.
Asante sana.
Mashallah. Swali langu ni kila mwezi wa Ramadhani tupenda sana kwenda umra. Na sisi tumeambiwa kwamba dini yetu mwanzo ni nguzo 5 za Kiislamu. Ikiwa hujaenda haji lakini kila mwaka ukiingia Ramadhani unaenda umra. Je, hii kidini ni vipi ama Sheikh atatupa advice gani? Shukran, assalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Shukran wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Your advice, your opinion concerning about someone ambaye anaenda umra in Ramadan but hajawahi fikiria kwenda haji katika maisha yake, Sheikh. We allowed to receive another call, Sheikh, or we answer this one first?
Let's answer this one first, inshallah.
Okay, inshallah.
Barakallahu fiikum. In regards to going to Umrah every single year, if a person has not gone to Hajj, mashallah, first of all, mabrookin. May Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala accept your Umrah. And in a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the one who goes to Umrah during Ramadan is as if they have completed an entire Hajj, because it's its own jihad as well. Lakin it does not mean that you have done Hajj in its physicalities, in its actual form. If you have the ability to go to Umrah every single year, remember this: وَسُنَّةُ الْعُمْرَةِ فَفْعَلْهَا كَمَا حَجٍّ وَفِي التَّنْعِيمِ نَدْبًا أَحْرِمًا. The sunnah of Umrah, العمرة مرة في العمر. السنة العمرة is مرة في العمر. It's only once in the life of man. Understood? You can only do it once. And Hajj as well, you can do it once because of it's a sunnah. First of all, Umrah is a sunnah. وَكَذَا تُسَنُّ الْعُمْرَةِ. Lakin when it comes to Hajj, you need to do it only once. So if you can do Umrah once, الحج مرة في العمر من عمره كما كذا تسن العمرة. Yes, according to أسهل المسالك. أيوة. Hajj is once in a lifetime. والعمرة كذلك, and it's a sunnah, كذا تسن العمرة. So if you can do it once and this one once as well, we need to realize that if we can save to go to Umrah every single year, it's best that what do? Throughout the other years, you save and save and save until now, after 3-4 years, you've saved enough for Hajj to fulfill the ibadah of Hajj. That's what's mostly recommended. أليس كذلك؟ وهكذا العلماء يقولون دائما, for the one who do not have any debt, هذه الاستطاعة, this issue of istita'a, if you read in the books of fiqh, it has been debated so widely. في أقرب المسالك, صاحب أقرب المسالك من الإمام الدردير رحمة الله عليه, في الحواشي, you notice that, and also in other shuruhat, they mention about this, and Al-Imam al-Mazari, al-Baji, and each one of them, they mention this istita'a. For example, in Risala to Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qirawani, is it fawran, yani basically now, or is it that you have a little bit of time in your life? Well, and there's a huge debate. Like if one knows that they have certain pieces that they're doing, certain ibadat, or maybe they know that there are things that they're doing in their lives while they can save for Hajj, then this is to be, you have to do what? You have to put this at the forefront. You have to do what? تقدم الحج قبل العمرة لأنك قد قضيت سنة العمرة. You have completed the sunnah of Umrah. So what do? You cut down on going to Umrah and you save money, you go for Hajj inshallah ta'ala. I hope that answers the question. Barakallahu fiik.
Shukran Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud. Nawe pia mtazamaji, bado una fursa adhim, fursa maridhawa katika kukushirikisha nawe katika kipindi hiki maalum kupitia 0722600333 ndio namba zetu za moja kwa moja, ama unaweza kutupigia kupitia WhatsApp kwa namba hiyo ambayo nimekutajia, ni 0722600333 ndio namba zetu za moja kwa moja. Nimeona simu hapa ya moja, lakini kutokamana na angavu pengine imekata, unaruhusa kupigia tena. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Naam.
Mimi kwa majina naitwa Ahmed kutoka Old Town.
Naam, mzee Ahmed kutoka Old Town.
Ningependa sana kumpongeza Sheikh Mustafa.
Naam.
Mara mwisho tulikuwa naye Bandari College. Kwenye kongamano alitutolea mawaidha mazuri sana. Hatukupata nafasi kamili ya kuweza kumpa pongezi wakati ule, lakini leo tumpa pongezi mara mbili. Pongezi la kwanza tumpa kwa namna alivyotoa mawaidha wakati wa kongamano letu la Bandari College. Tumshukuru sana, Mungu amjaze kheri, na leo anatupa mawaidha yenye mwelekeo, mawaidha mazuri. Mungu amuhifadhi Sheikh Mustafa, amjalie kheri na amuongezee ilmu, apate tena kuja Kenya kutupatia mawaidha mazuri siku nyingine inshallah.
Allahumma amin.
Swali langu ningependa kumuuliza Sheikh Mustafa.
Naam.
Katika kuingia kwa mwezi wa Ramadhani, zile siku za kwanza, siku 2-3 za kwanza, kuna baadhi ya watu husahau, mtu akachukua glasi ya maji akasahau kama mfunga, akapiga tama zito ama nusu glasi ama katika, alafu baadaye akakumbuka kama yeye yuko kwenye town. Hukumu yake ni vipi maswala haya? Ama ukachukua chakula ukala, katika kutafuna mara ukakumbuka yeye uko kwenye town. Sasa ile saumu yako huwa yavunjika ama huwa vipi?
Haya, asante sana.
Langu la pili,
naam,
kuna watu ambao kwamba wengine wako mbali na misikiti na watamani sana kuswali tarawih
na
kiamulel. Waweza kuswali tarawih nyumbani peke yako kama uko mbali na msikiti ama uko remote areas ambapo hakuna misikiti. Ukaswali tarawih peke yako na ukaswali na kiamulel peke yako. Tupe mwelekeo Ustadh Mustafa. Wabillahi tawfiq inshallah.
Okay, shukran, jazakumullah khair mzee wangu Sheikh Mustafa. I think you have just hear our question from our elder here, Mzee Ahmed in Old Town. 2 questions. First, concerning about someone who just forgot that he or she is in month of Ramadan na kanywa maji ama akatry to eat something. The second question is someone who is in remote area na there's no mosque around and he wants to pray tarawih nyumbani.
Barakallahu fikum Sidi. وتركه إيصال ما تحلل بمعدة والحلق لا كإحللا نسيان ذا في الفرض يوجب القضاء كالسبق مما استاك أو تمضمضا. على صاحب البشار رحمة الله عليه ورضي الله تعالى عنه. What does he provide us according to our madhab, المذهب المالكية, and which might be a bit different from the other madhahib, لكن على حسب فهمي هذا أقرب إلى الصواب. That is much closer to that which is the truth. When a man is fasting, or when a person is fasting, and they are fulfilling the fasting of Ramadan, that's why they said نسيان ذا في الفرض يوجب القضاء. While they're in the state of fasting, the common questions that come, he asked if someone accidentally on the first few days they eat or they drink while they are in a state of fasting at the time as the Maghrib time has not entered yet, the time of breaking your fast has not arrived, what do you do in this case? And you just remembered that you've ate something but you're still in a state of you're still in Ramadan and you're still fasting in that day. What do you do? Yes, you've accidentally broken your fast in terms of breaking your fast. Like in the ulama provide that. What do? You respect the day. You do not carry on eating, you respect the day. You do not eat, you do not drink. You carry on with the rest of the day, you complete it. But then after that, when Ramadan ends, you pay that day off. Why so? Because among the ta'rif, if you look at the ta'rif, التعريف يجب أن يكون جامع ومانع. It has to literally combine everything, the definition of something, and at the same time it has to eliminate that which is not required. And among the ta'rif of siyam, what is that? It is to not eat or drink or commit intimacy or have intimacy with your spouse during the month of Ramadan. أليس كذلك? If eating and drinking is prohibited during the month of Ramadan while you are in a state of fasting actually, then that means if you are to commit any one of them, حتى إن كان نسيانا, if you did it while you have forgotten, bear that in mind, then you have not yet fulfilled the ibadah completely, regardless of the hadith that are out there. Understood? The ibadah is not complete yet. So what do? إذا جمعت بين الأحاديث كذلك, you find that where they stand is that if you are to forget and you accidentally ate, you are not sinful for that. And you'll still get the full thawab of that day, the full ajr of that day. لكن حرمة لهذا اليوم, and to respect that day which you accidentally ate because you broke one of the rules of fasting on that day, which is the fasting of fard. نسيان ذا في الفرض, in the fard, you have to and you are obliged to pay that day back. كالسبق مما استاك أو تمضمضا. It's like a person that literally gargled and then accidentally they swallowed some drops of water, and then that went into what? وتركه إيصال ما تحلل بمعدته, that which goes into the mi'dah. Ma'idda is what? Into your stomach. It goes all the way to your stomach where you literally take in food. والحلق, and that goes past your throat. لا كإحللا. That's why the ulama, what do they provide? They provide that, for example, if you are to use bukhur, and the bukhur literally go into your nose, because the next question is going to be, what if I have adwiya, I have medicine that I take with syringes and all of that? That depends. And if it comes to that, we're going to come to that, but not now. You notice that even if you have bukhur and you've literally inhaled it, you've inhaled it like that, and it went into your throat, and you feel a tingling sensation on your throat, then your fasting is problematic. It's going to be unaccepted to the that's the closest to where it stands. So you will need to pay off that day. Does that make sense? So anything that goes to your ma'idda, anything that goes to your stomach as food, such as water or food or any of those, even if it's medication, for those who take medication or food and that, bear this in mind, you have to pay back that day, inshallah ta'ala. I hope that answers the question. Question number 2 is in what relates to Taraweeh. The madhab of Al-Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala is built upon the madhab of Abdullah ibn Umar and Umar ibn Khattab. Bear that in mind. The madhab of Al-Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi is built upon the madhab of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. وَمُقْرِئُ الْقُرْآنِ كَانَ مَنْ, who was the best of Qurra at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and even after the death of the Prophet ﷺ, is Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. When Abdullah ibn Mas'ud arrived in Medina and Umar ibn Khattab is there, he asked a few questions related to the Quran. I don't remember them vividly, but then he asked, أَفِيكُمْ ibn Abd, do you have Ibn Abd, which is Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, with you? They used to call him like that as well. They said, yes, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud is there. He answered every single question. And the madhab of Al-Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala is built upon the madhab of Abdullah ibn Abbas. And it goes on like that, ikhwat al-kiram. لذلك, for us the Madaniyun, the people of Medina, على حسب al-madhab, is that if you are to break your fast accidentally, even especially the fasting of Ramadan, then you pay that day back, inshallah ta'ala. And when it comes to the Taraweeh, the reason why I mention all of that is so that you realize Umar ibn Khattab is the one that set Taraweeh at his time specifically on 20 rak'ah and beyond, and people used to gather together in the masjid. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did not deny that, although he favored praying at home. But what's recommended is going for Taraweeh. It's one of the greatest nawafil that you will never ever find in any other month but the month of Ramadan. لذلك, praying in congregation is far more favorable of Taraweeh than praying alone at home. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam.
For answering those 2 questions. Another question coming from our brother from Likoni by the name Omar Idarusa. He said he's a member in one of the youth organization in Mombasa, and he wants to ask Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud, what are the roles, what roles does charity play in Ramadan?
If we talk about charities in general, it's a good question, but I wouldn't want to answer that question for now. However, the least of what I would tell you in regards to Ramadan specifically, you have to make sure that you collect Zakatul Fitr when it comes to the time of Zakatul Fitr. That Zakatul Fitr needs to be distributed to their rightful owners. That's number 1. Number 2, you need to realize that during the month of Ramadan is the opportunity to give out a lot of charity. So the charity that you collect and the wealth of people that you've collected, give it out as much so that those of who are in need, of the destitute, of the poor, the masakeen, wal fuqara, what do? You serve them, inshallah ta'ala, for the month of Ramadan. If we just talk about the roles of charity and that's not for this halaqa bi'idhnillah al-karim. Barakallahu fikum.
Shukran, Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud. Allow me to ask these two questions on my end. The first one is, what dua are recommended before and during Ramadan?
What dua are recommended before and during Ramadan?
Yes. Are there a specific dua?
There's no specific dua for before and during Ramadan. But remember this, if you do not make your intention waniyatin sabiqatin lil fajri, then what happened next is that you've lost your Ramadan. You have to be very careful. You have to make intention on the very first day. On the very first day you make intention, and that intention suffices for the rest of the other days. لكن كيف إذا سافرت, if you are to travel مسافة القصر, if you are to travel مسافة القصر, the amount of miles which literally allow you to shorten your prayer, then you have broken the chain of intention, then you need to repeat that chain once you return back to your village or you arrive to the next destination. Either way, when you arrive, you renew your intention. When you come back again, when you return, you renew your intention, inshallah ta'ala. In terms of dua, you can do any dua that you desire. Barakallahu fikum.
And there's someone here from our YouTube channel asking, Hatib asked for me to Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud, is it allowed to receive food stuff from non-Muslim community during the month of Ramadan?
Receiving food from non-Muslim staff during the month of Ramadan. You mean giving them food or them receiving food?
I think concerned about it, this question is receiving from the non-Muslim, because as we know, it's a different month, and every company is preparing for how they can make Ramadan for their staff well. So other non-Muslim companies, they donate some food to the Muslim community. So is it allowed for us as a Muslim community to receive non-Muslims package?
Barakallahu fikum. For where you are right now compared to us over here, it's a bit different. The dynamics are not the same. If you know the non-Muslims, where they got their food are from halal sources, and you know that the meat is slaughtered in a halal way, and at the same time the food where they've got it is from a halal company and beyond, for ahlan wa sahlan. Like, if the source of the food is not, it becomes problematic. Now, if we raise the question of, what if I receive food from a Christian? If I receive food from a Jewish, basically Ahlul Kitab, if from the people of the book, if I receive food from them, that's another fiqhi mas'ala. Lakin for us, what you need to realize is best to avoid, but you have to look at the same time. If you receive the food and you don't want to be a bad person, take the food, give it out in charity to someone else, inshallah. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, thank you so much. I know it's almost 15 minutes it's almost 13 minutes on our end, so that we can make our event, our program successful. And I want to ask the last question to Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud, how significance of the Laylatul Qadr, and is it early for someone to prepare Laylatul Qadr, or we can do a request for you to do another program concerning how we can prepare for the Laylatul Qadr, Sheikh, during Ramadan?
Barakallahu feekum. In regards to Laylatul Qadr, we can do another program, inshallah ta'ala, for us to understand Laylatul Qadr in itself, and why do we have Laylatul Qadr, and how we can make prepare ourselves the most for Laylatul Qadr, inshallah. Barakallah.
Shukran Sheikh, and inshallah we'll do the request officially on your end, and I hope our team will prepare for another successful like this one, a successful program like this one, all the way from Mombasa to London in UK, so that we can prepare and physically and spiritually how we can make our Laylatul Qadr better, and how we can do very best so that we can get the Laylatul Qadr inshallah. For those few remarks, Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud, I have a word here. First of all, I want to say thank you so much to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for making our day, every day successful, and by your support, your dua, inshallah, you and other sheikhs, to make our day, and also to make Alhaajar TV daily one of the most and loved station in Kenya. Yesterday we just received this award from the monthly motivational awards. It was held in Old Town, and to our viewers we want to say thank you so much. Without your support, without your dua, without your calls during our programs, I think this is our first most and beloved award in our station nowadays. And also I want to thank you, my team, all the way from the producers, graphic designers, to cameramans, and everyone who support, everyone who create time to make sure Alhaajar TV is in top in town nowadays. We have just celebrated our milestone some months back by reaching 2.5 million viewers in our end. To our viewers, let me say this: hii ni yetu sote, because without your support tusingekuwa tumefika hapa. Lakini kwa wale waliotuzawadi, tunawashukuru sana kwa kutupa mchango huu, kwa kutupa zawadi hii ambayo inatupa motisha, inatupa ari ya kufanya mengi zaidi sana. Kwa timu nzima natamani sana kuwataja, kuanzia Abu Mustafa, Abu Mahmoud, Abu Sakina, ndugu yangu Taufik Athman, kwa juhudi kubwa sana ambayo anaendelea kuifanya, bila kusahau Azlani Omari, bila kumsahau Abdul Ghafari Yusuf Abudi, na kumsahau ndugu yangu Sharif Alwi Abdurrahman, kijana wetu huyu ambaye anatuhakikishia kipindi cha michezo. Kwako Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud na mashekhe wengine wote, asanteni sana kwa kutuhakikishia mnaendelea kuwa nasi kila uchao. Na inshallah during the holy month of Ramadan, we have just to prepare a lot during after Tarawih prayer inshallah, na tutakuwa na vipindi vipindi maridhawa inshallah, kwa kuhakikisha tunaendelea kukupa mwongozo, kukupa yale ambayo unahitaji zaidi kuyafahamu. We want to say thank you so much Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud for your time all the way from London, and I think you'll allow me to give you a request to leave so that we can say thank you so much for your time. Na kwa wale ambao mnaendelea kututazama, asanteni sana kwa kuwa nasi. Tulikuwa na kipindi maalum, kipindi maridhawa, tukiwa naye Sheikh Mustafa Mahmoud kutoka katika nchi ya Uingereza hadi katika studio zetu hapa, akituletea namna gani tutajiandaa na kupokea mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhani. Inshallah kesho pia ni siku, na kesho tutakuwa na mchango maalum kwa ndugu zetu wa Taisir, ambao ni taasisi hii ya kwa ajili ya kuchangisha kwa ndugu zetu katika maeneo ya Somalia Kusini kule, kwa ajili ya kutafuta iftar na chakula, na wao ndugu zetu katika maeneo ya Somalia Kusini nao pia wawe na furaha katika mwezi huu mtukufu wa Ramadhani inshallah unaobisha hodi. Na mida ya saa 12 tutakuwa na matangazo ya moja kwa moja kutoka katika ofisi ya Chief Kadhi kwa ajili ya mtazamo ule wa mwezi wa mwandamo wa mwezi wa Ramadhani. Lakini mwezi utakapoandama, basi moja kwa moja swala ya Tarawih itakujia mubashara kutoka katika msikiti wa Masjid Yusuf maeneo ya Migadini kule. Lakini kwa wale ambao watakuwa na muda, kesho inshallah tutakuwa na hutuba mbili za Ijumaa. Hutuba ya kwanza itatolewa naye Sheikh Ahmad Lali katika msikiti wa Masjid Yusuf, na mada kuu ni Ramadhan ni mwezi upi? Unataka kufahamu Ramadhan ni mwezi upi? Basi hakikisha unafika katika msikiti wa Masjid Yusuf maeneo ya Migadini ili usipitwe na hutuba ya Ijumaa itakayotolewa naye Sheikh Ahmad Lali. Lakini kwa wale ambao watakuwa town, kuna ufunguzi wa msikiti mpya maeneo ya Kaloleni pale Magram Butcher, na ufunguzi huu utakujia moja kwa moja mubashara kupitia runinga yako ya Alhajar TV, pamoja na swala na khutba ya Ijumaa ikitolewa naye Sheikh Yasir Abdul Karim, na mada ni mapokezi ya mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhan. Mie sina la ziada tu isipokuwa leo ni siku ya furaha kwetu studioni, mwelekezi kwetu studioni kwa tunu hii. Bila mchango wao kila mmoja, tunu hii tusingeifikia kufanikiwa kuipata kwa siku ya leo. Kikubwa zaidi ni Muhammad Abdallah, nilikuwa leo host wa siku ya leo, na inshallah tuendelee kuwa nasi. Lakini kama huja subscribe katika mitandao yetu ya kijamii, hakikisha una subscribe katika mitandao ili usipitwe na mazuri ambayo tumekuratibia katika mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhan. Fi amanillahi, uwe na usiku mwema. Lakini hii ni yetu sote inshallah.
Taisir ni shirika la hisani lisilo la faida linalojitolea kusaidia jamii zisizojiweza, zikiwemo mayatima, wajane na wazee katika kusini mwa Somalia. Kupitia msaada na ukarimu wako, tumetoa mahitaji ya msingi kama vile chakula, maji safi na makaazi kwa wale wanaohitaji. Dhamira yetu pia inajumuisha elimu, ikiwemo ujenzi wa vituo vya kujifunzia na usambazaji wa vifaa vya masomo. Mnamo mwaka 2016, taasisi ya Taisir ilitoa misaada ya dharura kwa familia zilizoathiriwa na ukame, na mnamo Mei mwaka 2020 tuliwasaidia familia kurejesha makazi yao baada ya mvua na upepo mkali kuharibu paa za nyumba zao. Kwa miaka 4 iliyopita, taasisi ya Taisir Relief Foundation imesambaza vyakula kwa jamii ya wanaoishi eneo la Somalia Kusini, haswa wakati wa mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhan katika vijiji mbalimbali. Nia kuu ikiwa ni kuwapa jamii hizo futari katika mfungo wa Ramadhani. Katika siku zijazo, Taisir imepanga kujenga vituo vya afya ili kutoa huduma za dharura kwa jamii zilizo hatarini kwa maradhi mbalimbali yanayowakumba. Msaada wako unaendelea kuleta mabadiliko. Pamoja tunaweza kujenga mustakabali bora. Hivyo basi, taasisi ya Taisir Relief Foundation wakishirikiana na runinga yako ya Alhajar inakualika kwenye mchango wa moja kwa moja hewani utakaofanyika tarehe 28 ya mwezi huu wa pili mwaka 2025, yaani siku ya Ijumaa, kuanzia mida ya saa 2:30 saa za Afrika Mashariki, ili kuendelea kuwafikia wengi katika kuwapa vyakula vya iftari vitakavyowasaidia katika mfungo wa Ramadhani. Usipitwe na hili, mjuze mwenzako amjuze mwenzake, ili tulete matumaini na mabadiliko katika jamii yetu. Unaweza kuchangia moja kwa moja kupitia namba za akaunti yetu au kuwasiliana nasi kupitia nambari zilizopo kwenye skrini yako. Taisir Relief Foundation, huruma, msaada na uwazi.